Everybody again. Now I'm going to invite a few of our event sponsors who want to share their latest innovations with you. They each have around 5 minutes to present, and then we'll have a few minutes for questions for them and their pitch. So please send questions in, and we're going to have a little voting at the end to see what our best pitch is. So I encourage you to use the chat feature here in the Zoom meeting. The first presentation is going to be from Stacy Holden, who serves as Senior Director and Industry Principal at Appfolio. So we're going to turn it right over to you, Stacy, and take it away.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. I'm Stacy from Appfolio. So here's what's happening today. Technology has enabled people to communicate at all hours of the day and in multiple ways. Here are example messages when looking for a place to live. This volume of communication isn't just residents, it's from vendors and owners and your peers. It's not just texting, there's email and even the old school voicemail. So how do you keep up with it all? I want you to meet Alex. Alex is like most of us. They want a job with purpose. For example, make a difference in their customers' lives. Having a job where you're excited to go to work every day and know that your best talents are being put to use, not just every day, but for the majority of the day. Alex wants a job that matters. But here's the reality. With all the volume of communication and data requirements today, most of us are either entering or responding to data and stuck behind the computer. Alex isn't alone. In a recent survey, 67% of office workers would be willing to take a pay cut in order to have technology that is twice as good as what they're using today. These employees are demanding technology that enables them to be their best selves at work. So with that said, I think Alex might be doing some job hunting. So job hunting we go. Alex comes across the first posting for a property manager. Here's the list of requirements. Then he comes across another one. Here's the request for company B. Very different. What job would you want? And as an employer, what type of employee would you like to have on your team? The fact is, people are soul searching. They're questioning what they want to do, where their competencies are, and where their interests would be. Property management is a great career to have an impactful job in. And the bottom line is, these are the types of people that you want to have in your dynamic and growing business. But how can company B be offering a job where those talents are at the forefront and not being concerned about timely response? An exciting part of technology is the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's enable us to automate the obvious. I want to show you some examples of how we do that within the Appfolio platform today. Remember all of those emails and texts and phone calls that we're talking about regarding availability? I want you to meet Lisa. She's a leasing assistant powered by artificial intelligence. What does that mean? Well, Lisa gives your prospective residents a thoughtful experience 24/7 by not only answering the questions, but scheduling showings based on your availability and even taking them through the application process. All of this is done in a conversational way and all the data is captured in Appfolio. So what does this mean for Alex? Well, instead of answering the same questions over and over and over again, they get to spend time on those prospective residents that are truly interested in the units and more time building personal connections with the existing community. Oh, remember, no more texting or emailing back and forth trying to schedule appointments. And remember, all that information is captured within Appfolio. So when it comes time for that first personal connection, all of the info is served up to Alex. So speaking of personal connection, what about showing a unit? I want to welcome you to Appfolio's virtual leasing. So if a potential resident cannot meet in person, no worries. Right within the Appfolio system, users can launch a virtual showing, much like FaceTime, where a prospective resident can see you giving them a tour and you can see the prospective resident. Well, what does that mean for Alex? Well, that allows him to give that personal touch and use his closing talents that you wouldn't be able to do. And don't forget, all that information is captured. Those are two examples on the leasing side, but it's not just leasing. Here's smart bill entry. This is where vendors can email invoices and they are captured not only in Appfolio, but the data is entered automatically. So instead of Alex hand coding and signing invoices, all they need to be able to do is view them, edit what's necessary, and approve them. So this frees up Alex's time, but think about the vendor experience. But how does this work? 83% of Appfolio customers have reduced their onboarding time to less than a month. So what does that mean for employees? Getting to work faster. Not only getting to work faster, but automating. 80% of customers have streamlined what they do in 3 months and 92 under 6. This allows Company B to attract, inspire, and retain your top talent. This is just one example of our customers in action. My name's Stacy. Thank you so much for your time, and contact me with any additional information. Can't wait to automate your business.
That's awesome. Thank you, Stacy. Much appreciated. Great pitch. We got a question that cuts right to it. Who pays for the service and how much is it?
Well, who pays for the service is the property managers. It's part of the Appfolio platform, and contact me for additional information. Really depends the size and structure of your business.
There you go. So the automating processes, there's obviously some challenges there. Can you share a little bit more about what your clients have experienced?
Yeah, it's super interesting, especially on the leasing side. What they found with Lisa is that their traffic actually sometimes doubled, even tripled, because now every piece of information is being put into the system. And their conversion rates went down because of that. However, what ended up happening is that they could truly understand where their effective dollars were spent from a marketing perspective, and their employees were so much more satisfied and happy because they could spend time on that personal connection and not entering those guest cards.
Awesome. And one final question. How have vendors reacted to submitting bills electronically?
So at first there's an education of, not having that physical piece of paper being put in the mail. Am I emailing it? Will I get a response? But the data shows the percentage of time between when the invoice is received and when the vendor is paid is reduced to a point where vendors are thrilled to be able to send things electronically. And the accuracy is much improved as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Appfolio, and much appreciated. Nice work.
Thank you.
So next, we're gonna move on to our next pitch here, and it's going to be Miriam Rogers. And Miriam, thank you for joining us today. Miriam is the Director of Multifamily Sales at Brivo. And take it away.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be a part of this session with everybody. And I would like to welcome everybody to the speed dating version of Proptech for multifamily. We've done a lot of these virtual shows, and we hope to keep you engaged and entertained, and also educate you about different services that we have to offer. So I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes educating everybody on who Brivo is and why Brivo makes the most sense for your community. So we have been in business for 20 years, and we are the largest cloud-based access control and security platform in the world. Now, I did say 20 years, and it is worth repeating because it speaks to our expertise and longevity in this space. And 20 years is a long time. Most of us don't even have children that are that old, but we have a global expansion that reaches into 40 different countries. We've deployed over 70,000 applications, which translates into 300 million square feet of protected real estate. So we don't only talk and focus about physical security and access, but also cybersecurity as well. So when you're researching different companies that you should be partnering with, make sure you're asking that question. How is not only my community protected and secure, but how do you keep my resident data safe, and where is that information stored? So we all understand the needs of property management, but really focusing on the resident experience is what sets you apart. So improving the resident experience of the people that you already have there, but then also increasing that lease up velocity. So we talk a lot about automation, security, what's attractive in an intelligent building. But as an owner and a property manager, how do you differentiate yourself? And then how do you make money off of your investment into a technology application? One of the largest things that I think is under discussed is asset protection, and how you can apply technology to get real-time data and analytics that are going to report on things like leak and water detection, but not only report on it, but call to action with technology that allows you to manipulate a device, turn it off in the event that there is an alert that water is detected in your community. When we look at the foundation of any multifamily community or any building, you always have to start at the bottom and work your way up. So Brivo takes an application that is holistic and can control not only your common area access and secure with surveillance, but then we take it all the way up into the unit with in-unit automation, smart features like lights, locks, thermostat. I mentioned leak detection. But how are you ensuring that your entire community is protected? If you have amenity space on the roof, how is that secure? How are your residents granted access and permission into those common areas? But even before the resident experience, it starts with the prospect and that leasing experience that Stacy mentioned. How are you ensuring that they can see your community, especially new construction? They're running on a skeleton crew, and you need to have the ability to get people into your community. Technology is a beautiful way to do that without eliminating the personal touch that Lisa mentioned in terms of how you lease a community. Being able to provide temporary access that gives a resident or a prospect the ability to tour your entire community on a temporary basis and do it on their own time is really something we all recognize as a necessity with COVID. And now it's just a convenience for prospects. The last thing that they want to do, or anybody wants to do, is spend their entire day shopping for apartments. So making sure that everything for that potential resident is secure, it's controlled, but then you also have an audit trail to follow up with is going to be an intelligent experience right out of the gate. And not to mention holistic and one interface for your property managers, and then one app for your residents as well, that's going to cover all of these things that you're seeing here. So if you want to take it piece by piece and look at Brivo holistically, there's a solution that fits for every single community. Whether you need guest access at a boutique community, whether you need elevator access, the full building solution, mobile management, and then all the way up into the unit, we have a solution that is built upon in layers and that you can take and piecemeal together depending on what your needs are. So when you're looking at it, think of it in a way to build in your experience and grow within your portfolio. Some communities only need automation, but every community needs security and access control. So really partnering with somebody that's a holistic solution gives you one pane of glass for your on-site staff to interface with, one resident app, and then the ability to increase the profitability of your community. But more importantly, build a partnership that is going to be lasting, that grows with you, and also is ahead of the technology or really on the forefront of being an innovator in a partnership that you choose. So making sure that when you're partnering, it's one person, one less vendor, and having a fully integrated experience, whether it's from the design and you need help designing an access security platform, or whether it's retrofit application and you need to do a little bit of a facelift for your community. So we support a lot of different customers. You see some labels here or some logos, excuse me, that you're going to recognize. And a lot of these customers have standardized on Brivo base building access. It tells a really great story because they're so diverse and there's so many different owners within these groups. But the one thing that they all can agree upon is that Brivo has the most secure platform and that we're going to take care of them. And it doesn't matter how large the portfolio is or what the needs are. So hopefully we can add your logo to this screen here. And I want to touch on one more thing before we go. The companies that we integrate with, there's a lot of recognizable logos up here, but Brevo has an open API, which means we can integrate with any software. And the one thing that everybody has in common that you see on this slide is they've all chosen Brevo to be the foundation for access control that allows them to open doors into your community. And what you saw here today is just a quick little elevator pitch, if you will, of what we have to offer. But if you want to learn more, please contact me and I would be happy to take you on a deeper dive of what a holistic solution looks like. And I do see one question that popped up. What kind of training is available for staff and residents? And I love getting that question because it's an ongoing hand-holding experience from no matter how much turnover you have with your on-site staff. We have a partnership of dealers that are in every single zip code where we are going to onboard your staff, onboard your residents. We're going to train them however many times it takes until they're comfortable with the technology. And it's not that it's hard, it's just in property management, there's turnover in staff and residents come and go often. So we provide 24-hour customer support for your residents. We provide a dedicated account manager for each of your property management specialists. And then we also are going to do that onboard and training as part of the services that we provide. So all of our software and hardware updates are done through firmware updates. So you're always going to be operating on the most relevant technology. And even on technology that was deployed 5, 6, 7 years ago, the software is still going to work as effectively as day one. So you don't have to swap out hardware as software updates are available.
Great work, Miriam. A lot of information in a short period of time. Much appreciated.
For sure. Thank you so much.
So now we're going to move on to our next pitch, and I think we're going to do we'll do Mitch Karen next with Smart Rent. And Mitch, take it away.
Thank you, Rob. Really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here today and very excited to talk about SmartRent's newest solution, Alloy Parking. A little bit of background on SmartRent for those of you who don't know. We are an enterprise home automation and smart building platform. And since inception in 2017, we've actually launched 5 separate standalone SaaS products from smart apartments, self-guided tours, access control, Wi-Fi, and of course, our newest solution, which I'll be talking about today, is parking management. In addition to software, we actually provide some other services such as manufacturing, smart devices, and professional services from warehousing, distribution, installation, and actually on-site support of devices. And SmartRent's mission since day one has always been to leverage the Internet of Things and best-in-class technology to make buildings better places for residents, staff, visitors. And a little bit of background before we jump in to our parking solution. One unique thing that we've done really at SmartRent is, as I mentioned earlier, is provide professional installation services. And as we were installing and deploying systems across thousands of properties and hundreds of thousands of apartment units, we asked our staff, who's SmartRent employees, to interview property managers. And as we train people, we get a lot of different unique feedback. So from a customer feedback perspective, we've had a very unique perspective on being able to learn additional pain points at properties. Of course, as we've been deploying our existing technology, such as the smart apartments, access control, and Wi-Fi, we've been learning about how properties are still deficient in certain aspects. And that kind of brings us to our parking solution. We kept noticing over time and time again that whether it's a high rise in an urban area such as Manhattan or a garden style property in Phoenix, parking was really not managed well. No one we ever talked to said, I love my parking solution, or I'm really excited and it's optimizing my revenue in the best way possible. And so it kept giving us great ideas on how can we solve parking for property management, and not just for an owner here or there, but for large institutional REITs. And we kept coming back to this concept that parking is decentralized and it's fragmented. So whether you've got this high-rise property or a cluster garden style, you don't have the same solution. It's being managed completely differently. You can't train one property manager and easily train another property manager because it's all being done on site. There's different tow vendors for this property, for that property. So we kept coming back to the central theme that there's got to be a better way to centrally control parking. From a guest parking perspective, revenue is not optimized at all. There's parking spots that are being parked in for weeks at a time. They're not being towed. People aren't making money on the spots. For the properties who do charge for guest parking, you have ATM style machines on the property, and you're not making as much revenue as you can. And lastly, from an enforcement perspective, everything is retroactive. You've got to wait for somebody to complain about a car being parked in the wrong spot or being parked in a space too long. Nothing is automated, nothing is proactive, and it's a very outdated process. So that comes into our solution. As I mentioned earlier, the core functionality is centralizing the database of parking spots. If you look at any existing solution today that tries to do this, they do it through a rentable item concept, which actually doesn't have a source of truth of all the parking spots on property. It may have some idea of how many residents are renting spots, but it doesn't know how many total spots are on the property, and that leaves a huge gap in the ability to optimize your revenue. Following up with that on the revenue side is making it a lot easier for properties to dynamically price and optimize the revenue, not only on resident spaces, but on guest spaces as well. And lastly, validation and enforcement. We've created a really streamlined process to help property managers and residents and any enforcement company to validate vehicles and streamline the enforcement and towing process. So kind of what does it look like with our platform and our solution? And just to be clear, with all of our products, they're all centralized into the same software. So if you already have our smart home system, our access control, it's the same software, same login. Your property manager gets to do everything all in one app. Starting with resident management, we've streamlined this process completely. So when a resident signs up, they actually get a decal. If they have our access control system as well, the resident automatically gets a mobile credential on their phone. So when they move in, they don't have to meet the property manager. They can just immediately get into the space and park. From the guest parking perspective, we've digitized the entire process. So through smart parking signs, you can go as a guest or a visitor and scan the QR code and actually check in like a digital meter. And instead of having to use that ATM style machines, you can do everything with just through smart parking signs. And lastly, from a proactive enforcement perspective, we've actually created this extremely flexible, customizable escalation process. So whether you've got a property in a very strict municipality where you can't tow just immediately, or you've got a very loose regulations and you can tow immediately, it fits all shapes and all different sizes. Hardware. As you know, all of our products have some hardware component to them, and this is one of the coolest new technologies that we're using for our entire ecosystem, and that's smart parking sensors. So these sensors can actually be embedded into the ground or sit above ground, as you see in the picture, and they'll actually detect if a vehicle is parked in a spot in real time. That sensor is connected to a local gateway on the property, leveraging our existing Internet of Things infrastructure, and then that pings a server and tells our software, hey, this spot is in use, or there's a car parked illegally in this spot. And the newest part of all this is our interactive map capabilities. We've actually partnered with a company called Ingrain who builds smart maps for properties in general, and they're creating very unique parking specific maps for us. And today, I'm actually really excited to announce, and you'll actually see this in a press release soon, that Ingrain is actually going to be providing free parking maps for our clients for the next year. So if you sign up for our new parking product, you can actually get a free map drawn by Ingrain. What did these maps do? A whole host of amazing things, and really visualizes and illustrates your property, brings everything to life. So if a sensor detects a vehicle in the wrong spot, it can immediately alert somebody, show somebody in a map, actually show that tow vendor, hey, this car is parked in spot A15. So you don't have to drive around the entire property looking for where that car is. For a guest who's trying to do a self-guided tour or who's trying to park near their friend's apartment, we can actually guide them to the exact spots that are available that are closest to those apartments. So the mapping functionality is an amazing tool. And in general, it's going to really help streamline all types of operations from front to back. And that's the pitch on Alloy Parking. Thank you for listening to me today.
Awesome. Thank you, Mitch. Well done. Yeah, it's a great new application. Probably might surprise some folks to see that parking app coming out from you guys, and that's exciting. I have one question, and then we're going to move on to our last pitch. How does this evolve as many municipalities are changing parking regulations or getting rid of them altogether?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, this part of our solution obviously takes into account the drastic behavioral changes in car ownership and micromobility. And really our goal in general with our parking solution is to make it as flexible as possible. So if a city changes some rule tomorrow or makes it more strict or less strict, then you can easily make the right adjustments in our system to kind of coincide with what that municipality is requiring.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, SmartRent. And nicely done. So now we're going to move on to our final pitch of the day. And we're joined here by Aaron Amy, who's the CEO of Brilliant. So Aaron, welcome, and take it away.
Thank you very much. So yes, I'm Aaron from Brilliant, here to talk about the Brilliant Smart Home System. And tenants want smart apartments. I think we probably all know that. One number to throw out on that is 84% of residents recently who do not have smart home tech said that they would like to have it in their apartments. And property owners and managers have a lot of reasons to want smart apartments too, not just for the better resident experience, but because you can charge more for rent, you can rent vacant units faster, you can reduce turnover, you can reduce energy costs, operating costs, and you can remotely monitor and control units and know when there's a problem. But smart apartment solutions that have been available up to now have been lacking in a variety of different ways. The user experience for the tenant has not been great. Most of the solutions out there do not include the control capabilities being built into the apartment itself. There's a lack of popular smart home products that can be integrated, and in general, not a lot of support for bring your own device, where tenants can have their own smart home devices as well as the ones that are being provided to them, and have that as an integrated experience. And then they've been expensive with high monthly fees, long-term contracts, and a lot of difficulty in configuring and managing the devices to get them into the field and keep them operational. And that's changing. Why don't I actually stop the presentation for a moment and just show you what I'm talking about, because it's a lot easier to see than it is to hear about. So I've got a Brilliant control right here. One thing to understand off the bat is that we utilize the existing infrastructure that's already there in your building. So we actually install just the same way that standard light switches do. We use the same holes in the wall, the same wiring that's there. That allows it to be very easily installed, both in new construction and in retrofit kinds of environments. And the basic product is a touchscreen smart home control with voice control capabilities as well. And this is a unit that replaces 2 light switches. So you can see that the lighting functionality is built in. You can dim, you can tap to turn on and off. You see there are 2 different circuits there. If I tap on the screen, I'll see all of the functions that are relevant to this particular control. So here I've got lights and music and a couple of home automation scenes that I'll show you later. And if I tap on music, I'll see my playlists on Pandora and Spotify, and I can start playing music on my Sonos system, for example, which might be supplied. Might be supplied, or it might be something that the tenant has brought in on their own. And you can do anything here that you can do from the Sonos app. What's nice about this is it really democratizes the smart technology. It makes it available to everyone who's in the apartment without needing to master applications or to have particular appliances scattered around the place. It does have built-in voice control with a partnership with Amazon. So I can also do stuff like Alexa, What's the weather?
Currently, in Portola Valley, 66 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly sunny skies. You can expect more of the same today, with a high of 72 degrees and a low of 47 degrees. Enjoy the sunshine.
And you see that I can actually interact with the visual responses as well as having the audible response. Now there are some sensors up here. There's a motion detector, so you can do occupancy-based lighting for energy efficiency. There's also a camera. There's a privacy shutter over the camera, so if I'm a little paranoid, I can have that physically covered up if I want to. But that camera can be used for remote monitoring from our mobile apps. It can be used as a baby cam if you've got a sleeping child in another room that you want to keep an eye on, or it can be used for a video intercom. So I'll demonstrate how that looks by making a video intercom call. I'm calling another Brilliant Control now. You can hear it ringing. I'll accept that call, and you can see me here. You can communicate with other people throughout the apartment. I want to show you quickly that is. Got a little glare on it. But what's nice about this is not just a single Brilliant Control. That's the one I just answered the video call on. But also this is our new smart dimmer switch. So we actually have not only smart home control, but a line of smart lighting products as well. This also has motion detection for occupancy-based lighting, helps with energy efficiency. The slider here, well, it's a little glare on the logo. You're not going to be able to see it turn on and off. But the thing that's really unique about this smart dimmer switch is even though it doesn't have a built-in screen or a microphone, I can access all of the home automation capabilities that Brilliant offers. So if I double tap anywhere on this device, you'll see it's activating a scene. And the lights are on. I'll go ahead and I'll reverse that. But that scene has it'll turn the lights on, it'll start playing a disco soundtrack, it unlocks the door, it does a variety of different things, and that's accessible from anywhere in the house, and you can program it so different scenes are mapped to different switches. I'll just show you one more thing before jumping back to the deck. Suppose someone is at the door and rings a doorbell. In this case, I'm using just terminated it on the other side. We have a partnership, for example, with Butterfly MX, where you could do this in a multifamily context. So I'll show you what that looks like. This is a Ring doorbell, but it's the same basic UI. You get a notification, and Ring is terminating the video screen. So I will go back to the deck, and I hope that gave you some sense of what the overall experience is like, rather than just giving you a verbal description of it. So here we are back here. So we work with a large variety of the top smart home products across all different product categories. This is one of the key things because consumers like to use products that they know and trust and have heard of. And on top of that, we have a SaaS offering, which allows the management of this technology at scale when it's deployed across many different apartments. And there are a lot of different features that are integrated in that. First, it helps automate configuration to make it very easy to deploy Brilliant across all the apartments in a community. And second, it allows you to manage the technology at scale, to get alerts if there's a problem, whether that's a water leak or whether that's a piece of equipment that's having an issue. And then it manages the units throughout the vacancy lifecycle as well. We integrate into the building management software, so we know when somebody moves out, we can put it into an energy efficiency mode where you're not air conditioning it in the Arizona summer or heating it in the Minnesota winter. And if there's a tour scheduled, then we know to heat it up or cool it down a couple hours ahead of time so it's comfortable and welcoming when a prospective tenant is visiting it. So a lot of different features that this offers. Obviously, not a lot of time to go through them feature by feature, but that probably gives you an idea of what the overall system is. We're extremely focused on the tenant experience and on what it's like to use the technology, on the Brilliant controls being on the wall, and the Brilliant smart dimmer switches providing the smart lighting functionality throughout the unit, and so on. If you're interested in more information, you can reach us at www.brilliant.tech. Thank you.
Awesome. Aaron, thank you. We appreciate the demo. I think a lot of people like the music as well. They like your playlist. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Stacy, Mitch, Miriam, and Aaron for sharing your pitches and expertise in technology. This was great. I mean, it's a great session. There's a ton of information in there on some great innovative products out there in the marketplace today. So I'd encourage everyone to check out all of these firms and reach out to all these contacts. So now you in the audience, you're going to get to be a part of this thought leadership. We're going to put a poll on the screen, hopefully, and you can vote for the innovation that you like best. And at the end of the final session today, we're going to announce who received the most votes. Next, we're going to have a session up at 1:30 Eastern. So we will see you then. Let me see. I don't see it up here yet. I'm hoping the poll comes up. Let's see. Do I have the poll?
Rob, you're killing us with suspense.
We're going to get the poll up. So we're going to end this here, but we will get a poll up. I'm going to wrap it up and stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. But thank you guys. We really appreciate it. Great work by all of you. You all are winners for me.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye now.